Mr. Corbyn, welcome to you. Obviously a bad night for you and everyone on the Remain side. Your reaction immediately to that breaking news that David Cameron is expected to announce his resignation?
It's obviously extremely dramatic. I hope at the same time as announcing his resignation, if that is what he's intending to do, he will also set out some very urgent proposals concerning stabilising the pound and obviously with that protecting jobs and exports, and that the government will come up with a coherent plan of how it's going to prepare for negotiations to leave the European Union and at the same time protect the working conditions and many other conditions that we have that are enshrined in European law. We're in for a very complicated series of parliamentary votes over the next couple of years.
Jeremy Corbyn, Lord Mandelson was just pretty scathing about your performance in this campaign. He said you'd been pretty mute, pretty lacklustre, that you hadn't really galvanised the Labour vote to vote with you, and in fact many, many more Labour voters voted for leave than anyone expected. Surely you should be considering now your position and maybe let somebody else take over.
I've no idea where Lord Mandelson gets his analysis or his figures from. The issue is that some areas of the country that are very strong for Labour, such as London and Bristol, voted overwhelmingly to remain. Other places that are also very strong for Labour, such as in the North East and much of the North West, voted to leave. The issues now are protection of jobs. The issues are working conditions. The campaign that we ran was one of criticism of the European Union, yes. I argued to remain in it in order to reform it. We're now going to be leaving the European Union. We have some very important issues to face, particularly on export markets for Britain and also of the way in which working conditions are treated in this country.
What are you worried about at this point?
Hello?
Mr. Corbyn?
Yes, I missed you for a second. Come back again, please.
Well, I mean, you voted and you campaigned to stay within the EU because you thought that the consequences would not be good if we left. We're leaving. That campaign has failed. What are you worried about this morning? What do you think the consequences are going to be in real terms?
The consequences have to be dealt with. The first one is, of course, export-related jobs and the way in which those jobs can be protected. The other one is the economic consequences of Britain. If there's a fall in the value of the pound, there are other economic consequences that go with that and possibility of higher rates of unemployment as a result of it. Those have to be dealt with. And if the government is going to bring in a new budget, an austerity budget, we will oppose that because we believe one of the fundamental problems of Britain are the grotesque levels of inequality, the lack of funding, sufficient funding for local government in the poorest parts of the country. Those issues have to be addressed. There also has to be the introduction, which Gordon Brown had, of a migrant impact fund which helped local authorities in areas that have been most changed because of migration.
Mr. Corbyn, let me ask you this. In terms of the way the campaigns were waged, do you now accept that it was almost parallel lines, that the Remain campaign were fixated about the economy and worrying us and scaring us about what would happen to the economy, whereas the Leave campaign, particularly Nigel Farage, consistently banged the drum of immigration problems, migration problems, and it seems to have been that which has resonated more with the electorate in this particular referendum?
Clearly there was resonance for that in some parts of the country. I think we should also recognise, as I'm sure you do, that the vast majority of European nationals that live and work in Britain claim very little, if nothing, work very hard and pay their taxes, and indeed 50,000 of them work within our National Health Service. There's also, of course, the question of the million British people that live within the European Union, how they feel about their own future.
Do you feel, Mr. Corbyn, that you're in touch with the members of your party who voted to leave the EU?
Our party came to a conclusion at last year's conference of the view it would take on the referendum by a huge majority. The vast majority of unions in this country that are affiliated to the Labour Party came to that same conclusion. We campaigned across the whole country, pointing out that there are inadequacies of the European Union, but that overall we should remain in order to try and reform it and protect those conditions. That decision has been changed now because of the decision of the referendum. We now have to pursue the agenda of protecting jobs and conditions, and also working out an economic future for this country, because our economy has become very dependent on trade with the European Union. There's no guarantee we're going to be in the single market.
Yeah.
I believe the other big effect of this election is not what's happened in Britain, but what will happen in the rest of Europe. I mean, in the rest of the EU, Eurosceptic parties never talked about leaving the EU, now they are. An opinion poll in the Netherlands said that a majority there now want to leave. So we may well be close